Greetings, YouTube. Today I'm going to be revisiting an old RPG Pondering video. Also, I'm doing a test. I have installed an AC unit in my office. I have hesitated to do this for the longest time, but now that climate change has gotten even worse, the weather has actually prevented me from being in this office for days at a time. This is the hottest room in my entire home, and I couldn't get in here, and I would try to be in here for like 3 hours on a Friday morning, film everything, upload everything, and then get out for the next week. Not really convenient. This is where my hard drive is. It's where I do my online shopping. I don't do it through my phone. I don't do it through my laptop. I do it all here. Um, so I like to be in here. Not to mention, this is a much more comfortable seat than sitting in my living room with a laptop on my lap. Um, so I need you to tell me if that sounds horrible or not. If you think it's too loud, tell me. I will turn it off during the filming. But I currently have it set on low setting, and it's about two-thirds. Actually, yeah, so more like 40% power, 35, 40% power as far as temperature goes. At the moment, it's quite comfortable in this room, and that's the goal, to make it just comfortable with the combination ceiling fan that I'm not wasting too much electricity, but I'm not also sweating myself into a puddle. Sadly, it means the cats can't access that window, and I can also not get fresh air out of it when I don't need the AC unit. It's a compromise. I'm not happy about it, but I only have one window in this room. Maybe someday we will get duct systems put in here. Maybe we won't. I don't know. But at the moment, at least, I can now use my office again. So on to the video. Now, in June of 2019, I did a video where I talked about the idea that you would be granted 10 spells. Okay, they could be from Pathfinder First Edition, and they could be any spells you want. There were two criteria you had to take into effect. Each of these spells must have a duration. That's key. If it doesn't have a duration, you can't pick it. And two, the spell is permanent. So you're going to have these 10 spells. They will be all active on you at the same time. You can use any of them you want, one per round, or continuous in the case of some of them. Some of them don't need concentration or activation. Um, and because they had a duration and they're permanent now, they all function for you forever. And my original choices of these were Mage Hand, Featherfall, Dark Vision, Tongues, Arcane Eye, Life Bubble, Telepathy, Greater Scrying, Mind Blank, and Shape Change. And I've been thinking about this for a while now, and I've decided to kind of like redo this list because I think that over the last 5 years, I have changed my position on some of them. Um, okay, so we have Mage Hand. Featherfall is a choice for number. Oh, sorry, not Featherfall. Here we go. All right, so still sticking with Mage Hand because Mage Hand's too useful. I can pick up a 5-pound object at a range. It's Jedi powers. Cool. Level 1 is Fastidiousness. Now, Fastidiousness is a spell that allows you to always appear clean, and your equipment and your gear and your clothing appears to be in like new condition. So if you get dirty, you gradually just get clean. And to me, that's much more useful than Featherfall. There's another reason for that later. Second level, Fox's Cunning. It gives me a permanent +4 to my intelligence. That's a big boost of intelligence. It really is. And I kind of like that being brighter than I am now, particularly as I get older. That will help. I've already suffered cognitive problems because of COVID. This would help counterbalance that. Not to mention, even with the counterbalancing the cognitive impairment I've suffered, it would always also push me over the limit where I currently am and make me smarter. Uh, 3 would remain Tongues. Tongues is a very useful spell. Allows you to communicate with people. You can listen to multiple people from different languages, and you're able to perceive it all, though you are only able to reply to one at a time. Um, then we have Dark Vision Greater. I decided I wanted to go with this one because Dark Vision is just too darn useful. And 4 was Arcane Eye, and I realized Arcane Eye is a very active spell. It creates a little floating eyeball. That's very obvious. And I'm kind of taking the assumption here that I'm applying these in the real world. So I would have them here. So if that's the truth, I want things that aren't obvious. And tongues is not obvious. If I talk to people, they don't know I'm understanding. If I'm listening to people, they don't know I'm understanding what they're saying. And if I choose to talk to someone, I can, or I can feign ignorance and just act like the average American who only speaks English, like I only speak English. Okay, number 5 is life bubble. That's the same as the last list. It's too darn useful. Not only is it a endure element spell, um, which is a very powerful spell in and of itself, but it also means that you have a permanent atmosphere around you. So like this far off your skin, you have your own atmosphere. So you can be underwater and you're fine. You can be in any kind of smoke or gaseous spell, you're fine. And you could be in a vacuum of space and you have nothing to worry about. Okay, so you're all set. That's a really powerful spell. And it also plays into a spell I picked later. Then we have telepathy, and I think telepathy is the same for both lists. Yes, I stuck with telepathy for both of them. Um, Number 7 is it's an either or. The reason I did this is that my initial was scrying greater, and that's still a good spell. However, I changed my ninth level decision. So I don't have shape change in this list anymore. So polymorph greater would be a good option. Okay. There is, however, the reason I have 2 slated here is that does this require you to have a sample of the creature? For example, if you cast alter form, you have to have a bit of the creature for that spell to work. So if you want to turn into a dwarf, you have to have a dwarven tooth or something like that, or a piece of a bone from a dwarf to be able to have it work. However, I gave a quick glance at the spells for the greater polymorph, and none of the beast shape stuff, none of those spells, magical beasts and things like that, they didn't say specifically that you required a piece. So if you don't require any components of a creature, polymorph greater is the best option. Okay? Because you can absolutely turn yourself into anything you want to as long as you're not trying to emulate the uh, alter form spell. Of course, you could also turn yourself into a copy of yourself in a better condition. So I'm overweight. I could turn myself into me looking better. Or I could turn myself into another human because I'm a human. So I don't need a bit of human. I am a bit of human. So still, Ultraform is still very viable. You could easily change yourself into anyone to make yourself appear as any person or as just a random generic, schmuck. So Helena Greater would be a really great spell. However, if you need samples, depends on how that spell would function in the real world. I don't know. If anyone else has an opinion, I've always kind of, as a GM, have required people to have samples, or at least like do a commune spell or something where you sit in one place and you commune, not commune spell, so you commune with the area, and then you get a vibe from the life forms there, and then you can emulate the life forms from that by making the appropriate skill check is to see if you kind of got the essence or the form factor memorized in your brain kind of thing. But if you don't need it, if this spell is so powerful, and it is a really powerful spell, it's a 7th level spell. So a 7th level spell that doesn't need samples would be applicable in my book. That's the 3rd highest ranked spell there is. And the other ones, I read them and they did not say they required samples. So of the creature, so if you would rule that way, could. If you think that you should be other way, then I would pick greater scrying, which is also very useful. And in the internet, for example, you could look up an image of someone, and then you could use that image to scry on where they are right now in live time. Very useful for finding missing persons, isn't it? Very useful for finding people who are on most wanted lists. You would be very popular when it came to being a PI or a bounty hunter because you could just find them. So scrying greater is a really great option. And I still think that that might be one I would lean towards because having the ability to change in forms is cool, but maybe not as useful as it being able to scry. You know what I mean? So I'm actually thinking I'm probably 60% leaning towards scrying regardless of how the polymorph greater would function. 8 stays the same, mind blank, in the event because I can cast magic. I'm making the assumption that someone else in the world might be able to cast magic, and a mind blank means they can't gather any information about me, which is awesome. And the last one is I'm ninth level. I'm choosing a spell called Void Flight Greater. Now, this is a spell that most folks are not going to have heard of. This is from the Starjammer Pathfinder setting. There's also a Starjammer version for Starfinder because originally this product was going to be called Starfinder, and then Paizo contacted him and said, "Hey, we'd like to make our own official thing. Would you mind changing the name of this product?" Because they were going to publish this as Starfinder. At the time, they didn't know that there was going to be an official version, and they said, "Yeah." So they changed it to Starjammer, and this is a science fantasy for Pathfinder. If you wanted Dragon, uh, the Dragon, Dragon Empire or something, it was 3.5 science fantasy game, Dragon something. I can't remember off the top of my head. And it was awesome. And I've always wanted a Pathfinder version. And then along comes Starjammer, and it gives me exactly what I want. And I prefer this to Starfinder because it doesn't have some of the things that Starfinder does, which I don't like. For example, action points, character points, things like that. I don't like those. But this is a powerful spell, and there's two versions of it. There is the 6th level version of it, also 7th level, depends on which class you are. Some is at 6, some is 7. And it is a casting time, one action, components, uh, VSM, range touch, target creature touch, duration 1 per hour per level. And I'm going to make the assumption that everything that's going to be here is going to be cast at the 25th level of ability, just for the purposes of understanding how powerful the spells are. Um, Saving throw, will, negates, harmless, resistance, yes, harmless. Okay. The creature touched can gain the ability to fly through the vacuum of space at speed 1 with 1 acceleration. The duration of this spell, the creature's body is altered so it can survive the G-forces involved when traveling at this high rate of travel. However, the spell does not provide a means to breathe in space. Within an atmosphere, the subject may only fly at a rate of 50 feet per round for each speed rate, i.e. 50 feet per round at speed 1. It ascends at half speed and descends at double speed, and it is maneuverability is considered to be good. Now let me find where my cursor is, sorry. So what this means is that if you're at 20th level, you have a speed of 5 and an acceleration of 3. Atmospheric flight is 250 feet per round, and it functions as a fly spell as a 7th or 6th or 7th level spell. That's fast. That's one of the fastest flight spells in the game, okay? And I'll explain what the speeds and accelerations mean in a minute. And then you have the Void Flight Greater 9th level spell, which is Psychic, Wizard, Shaman, and Witch. Those are all classes that get this. And again, the casting time and everything and are the same. However, the it, the speed, the creature touch can gain the ability to fly through vacuum space with a speed of 4 with 2 acceleration. For every caster level after 17, the speed increases by 2. Acceleration is yeah. Okay, so a 20th level person would have a speed of 10 and an acceleration of 5, and your atmospheric flight is 500. So let's go now cut down to 148, I think it is I have to get to, which I can then look at the actual speed and explain you what that means. I think it's 148. Yeah, okay. I was correct. So a speed of 10, um, so like there's tactical speeds and then there's intergalactic speeds, interplanetary speeds. We're going to look at the interplanetary speeds. So a speed of 10 is 0.0009 AUs per minute. Works out to 0.053 AUs per hour, 1.27 AUs per day, and it would take you 0.68 uh, AUs in a day. And you're thinking, what's an AU? Now, an AU is an astronomical unit, and that is the distance between Earth and the Sun, which is 93 million miles. And we use that as a unit of measure within our planetary system. So if you could go zero point 0.6 in 24 hours, uh, the Earth is one, obviously, so you could get to the sun if you wanted to or close to it. Now, Venus is zero point 0.7 away, so that's within easy peasy one-day travel. Mercury, 0.39, you're easy peasy. And as long as you're in the vacuum of space, you're not trying to land, you'd be protected by the life bubble spell. Jupiter is, Mars is 1.52, a little bit more than 2 days travel. Jupiter is 5.2, so a little bit further. If you want to go all the way to Neptune, that's 30 AU, so that's going to take you a month's travel. So you better have brought yourself enough food and water for that amount of time. Otherwise, you're going to be in trouble. Um, so obviously not the most useful thing for truly long distance, but quite viable to get to Mars and back again. Think about that. You could be the first person to stand on Mars. You could bring back samples of Mars stuff right now for NASA. Think how much they'd love you for that. You could go to anything closer than that at any point you wanted to. That's going to make you real popular. That's going to make you very, very desirable as an asset for NASA, and I would make myself available. So that is a spell that is just unbelievably cool. And the great thing is that if you are within an atmosphere like our Earth, and you have open sky, you just go zip, and you're gone. You go at 500 feet per round, straight up, until you're out of the atmosphere, and now you're moving at interplanetary speeds. Now, you can't have teleport with these guidelines I've said. A teleport has no duration. It's instantaneous. But with this spell, you just go straight up, see on the globe where you want to land, and go back down. So you can get anywhere on Earth in minutes, literally. 5 minutes from now, you could be anywhere on the globe. And that's profound. Really, really profound. Um, it's just really cool. I love that idea. Being able to, I could go and stand on the moon. I could bring back a moon rock of my very own. I didn't want to pick it up because I would not be protected from the coldness of the moon. But I could bring something that'll pick up for me. Just little pliers, bring it back. But yeah, so again, sound check for the AC unit, new list of spells. So for those of you who weren't here for the first time, now you can now play along with this game. What are your 10 choices? Do you think I made some good options? And would you use the ones I've chosen differently, or would you completely change the list and come up with an absolute original idea for yourself because you have a different way of looking at the world than I do? So let's talk about noise levels and spell choices.